Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, an intuitive leadership coach and somatic guide for high performers, high achievers who want more freedom, ease, joy, and energy. You are a visionary leader, driven, intuitive, and ready for more. More flow in your work, more presence and joy in your life and relationships, more trust in yourself and the decisions you make every day. Here, we explore the intersection of intuition, leadership, and energetic sovereignty, blending practical strategy with energetic alignment so you can create success that feels deeply fulfilling at work, at home, in your relationships, and in your own well-being. You'll hear inspiring stories, practical strategies, and high-level conversations designed to help you integrate the woo into your daily life. Because when your energy is aligned, everything flows. Ready to elevate how you lead and live? Start by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit and discover what's fueling or depleting you. Let's do this. Your yes-filled life starts now. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Today, as the podcast drops, it's September 7th. I'm not recording it on September 7th, obviously, but September 7th is kind of a big day for me personally. So last year, I developed the energy audit in response to having a panic attack while I was traveling full time, moving from one Airbnb to the next. And what I discovered over the past year of doing this energy audit about once a week, if not more for myself, is that I wanted to cultivate more joy in my life. And when I got really honest with myself about what more joy looked like, I realized I was missing working with children and I was missing working with music. And so September 7th is the first day of a new venture for me that is not going to take me away from any of my work that I'm doing here in my business or on the podcast, but I'm adding to it. It's my joy job. I've taken on a very part-time, about 2 hours a week, choral music job where I'm going to be directing 2 children's choirs for the Pacific Youth Choir here in Portland. And I'm so excited. And so as this podcast episode drops on September 7th, I will be hosting my very first rehearsal with that group. And I'm so excited, so grateful. And it's just proof that when you are really, really crystal clear about exactly what you want, it shows up in your life. I wanted a choral music job, just enough to be able to keep my fingers in choral music and to feel the joy of teaching kids to sing. But I didn't want to do it full time. I didn't want it to take away from my business, from the podcast. And so this is just such a perfect fit. And it's been an incredible company for me to get to know. I love the people that I'm working with. I've so enjoyed connecting with them. We had an all-day retreat in early August, and we have gotten together a couple of different times for different events like auditions, and just feeling really grateful and excited. And it's also kind of putting into what we're going to be talking about today, which is the truth that your body always knows. So my body knew that it was time for a little bit more joy. And I was able to trust that this was the right decision for me because it felt a certain way in my body. So we're going to be talking about that today. And we're going to be exploring why your body is, in fact, the most reliable guide you'll ever have, and how when you connect with your body, it can bring clarity to the decisions that feel the most confusing or the hardest. So one of the things that can come up for us as we get ready to make decisions is we can worry about, do we have capacity for this? Do we have time, energy, bandwidth, resources for this? And one of the things that commonly comes up until we train ourselves not to come up is, what will people think? Right? And so we do have to get over that, but there are lots of ways that that can be done. So one of my commitments is to being of greater service to my clients, to you, to the people that listen to the podcast, to the people that follow me on social media, to the people that I'm working with one-on-one and inside my groups. And I realized that I needed to have some more conversations with people to have a better understanding of exactly what is going really well and where might some support be useful. And as I started to ask the questions inside of these calls, I started with one premise, even on the first call, that I was going to be offering something in a specific direction. And I learned on call one, and it was confirmed in call two and call three and conversation four, that I was on the wrong path. That the thing that I thought people needed was actually not something that they would ever have identified as a problem. So, or what I did learn from these conversations is that there is something really interesting happening for so many of us. Now, if you identify as somebody 40 or older, chances are you have spent a number of years in a specific way of being, a specific way of living, and perhaps a specific way of working. And there's something that happens, especially after the age of 45, where there can become a curiosity around what would a new path look like. And for those of us that have gone to school or gotten training or education in a specific field that we were working on, it can really bring up a fear of judgment as you get ready to do something different, something that maybe you received a training for, like spiritual director or Reiki master or master sound healer or breathwork facilitator or somatic coach, especially if you're doing something that is off of a conventional path where it's like you go to college, you get a specific degree, you apply for a specific job, which if you're a Gen Xer like me, that was the way that the world operated at the time that we were in our really formative years. And it's really changed. It's not the way the next generation is viewing things. And many of us are realizing maybe that wasn't what we had to be doing anyway. And so now this is an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to claim the lives that we want to be living, whether that pertains to career or living situation or place that we live, or maybe it even means opening a business. So, one of the things that people talked about is, how do I know when the timing is right for me to pursue this? And it's really interesting to think about, because so many times we want something external to say it's this time. It's like going to make so much sense for you to start in September, or it's going to make so much sense for you to start in January. But what we often find is you already know the answer to when is the right time. And it has nothing to do with something linear, it has nothing to do with something on the calendar. It's very much a feeling. And we'll talk about that in just a second. One of the other things that I found from these conversations is that it is very common for people to be overcommitting to many, 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 many projects. Can you relate? So, one of my friends, Tracy Beavers, she's been on the podcast. I happened to catch one of her Facebook Lives. She's got a Facebook group. Invitation to go check it out. I'm not an affiliate with her in any way. I just really like her work. And she was saying that someone had told her the story of two soccer players. One soccer player standing at the back of the field with one, maybe two soccer balls, with the goal of getting the soccer ball into the net. Will that person make it? Yes, almost certainly. Even if they, kick the ball on the wrong side and it goes off in a different direction, it's going to be fairly simple to make one or even two balls into the net. Well, if there's somebody else standing on the soccer field, another player, and this player has six or maybe even eight different balls, how easy is it going to be for them to get those balls into the net? Well, one thing's for sure, it can happen. You can do it. You can get all six or eight soccer balls down to the net, but it's going to take you a lot longer. It's going to take a lot more effort. You're going to do a lot more running back and forth. It basically dilutes and diffuses all of your efforts. And I'm finding in these conversations with people that that is something that is actually happening. So there's a little bit of a fear around choosing the thing that you want to really go all in on. And the other thing that I'm hearing from people across the board is that people want to be paid for their gifts, paid for their skills, paid for their time. And especially if you're going off of the conventional path where it's like you go to school to become a fill in the blank, then you go work for whatever institution or organization that is, and then you get your paycheck and then you retire. If we're talking about you becoming an entrepreneur of some sort, or of you pursuing an interest that you've always had, whether or not you know how to monetize it, like maybe you want to start a Facebook group for refugees, or maybe you want to have a women's forum where you gather once a month with women around your table, or maybe you want to help people with their spiritual development, whatever that is, if you don't see a clear connection to the degree or the training that you've had, sometimes we can go into a self-sabotage of not charging what we're worth. And wait, I want to redo that. Sometimes we can get into self-sabotage about not charging an appropriate rate for what we're doing, or maybe even working for free. And I will say this has absolutely been something that I struggled with. I struggled with it from the time I opened up my business until, well, right now. I still, if given the choice, would love to just give it all away. But the truth is, when we talk about energy exchanges, that's not a good thing to do. It's not a good thing to do to give it away because it leads to resentment on my part. But then it also does not create the transformation on the part of the other person because they don't have anything invested. And so I just want to normalize that all of these things, whether it's fear of judgment, waiting for the right time, overcommitting to too many things, or wanting to be paid and not knowing quite how to execute on that, those are really normal things, even seasoned entrepreneurs fall into. It's not ever about having enough knowledge, enough wisdom, enough experience. It's about trusting yourself deeply enough, or not trusting yourself deeply enough. So here's the reframe. When we talk about your body always knowing what is true for you, I would like to use the term embodiment. Embodiment essentially means that you are using the entire instrument of your body to help make decisions. So if we look at intuitive maps, and there's many different kinds of intuitive maps, you could talk about the six clairs, you could talk about the empath tracks, you could talk about intuition coming in through the third eye. I like to think about a map of the intuitive bodies with the very first map being the mental field, the structured mind, which literally is in your head. And then I like to think about the emotional body, which is around your heart, and that's where we carry our emotions and connect to your actual heart space. And then we think about the intuitive body, which lives around the gut. And if you've ever used the phrase, I know in my gut that, you're tapping into this deep intuitive embodiment. And so that's what we're going to talk about right now. So I want you to think about a time when you said yes to something that you actually wanted to say no to. What sensations did you notice in your body? Most likely, you felt a sense of heaviness or maybe pressure, maybe feeling restricted or constricted. You might have even popped off with a headache or stomach upset. And now I want you to think about a time when you followed your joy. Something occurred to you that you really wanted to do, that you knew would be fulfilling and exciting and joy filled. Now think about, how did your body feel in that moment? I bet it felt light. It probably felt open, maybe relaxed, expansive, maybe felt like buzzing or moving. Maybe you felt a little bit of like the butterfly sensation in your stomach in a positive way. So your body already knows, and you already know this too. The signals are always there. Like, it's no accident when you are exhausted from a long work day, and then your best friend calls and you find yourself sitting straight up, so excited, so energized to talk on the phone with them. Your body is responding to that energy. Where the same is true when you're getting ready to make decisions, your body already knows the signals are there. And when you learn to trust them, your decision maker becomes even more clear. I should say your decision making, although it's true, your decision maker gets more clear as well, but your decision making becomes clearer and more ease filled. So when you think about your body wisdom, your body has these beautiful intelligences. Like sometimes you might even notice your hands feel funny in a meeting. That's your body speaking to you. Or you might notice that you have a pit in your stomach. That's your body speaking to you. Maybe you notice like tension in your shoulders. That's your body speaking to you. Maybe you feel like you can't stop smiling and you actually notice muscle fatigue in your cheeks because you're smiling so much. That's your body's wisdom. Your body always knows what's right for you if you're willing to listen. And when you tap into this body wisdom, that is embodiment. So, if you'd like to learn more about how to listen to your body, how to respond to an ongoing stress response, whether it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, I have something for you. It's called Embodied Clarity. It's a free workshop on September 9th. But before I tell you about that, I want to talk about the ways your nervous system might be communicating with you and you aren't sure how to listen. So sometimes we just need a translator because the language of the body is always different from the language of the mind. So if you're in an activated state where you're in a hyper activated state, meaning your stress is creating overactivation in your nervous system, you might notice that you feel like you have to hustle, like you have to grind. There's a sense of urgency. It might feel like I had a notepad here and you just heard me with all my clips from my hair dry fall. It might feel like you take things personally. You might notice that your tendency to overwork gets a lot stronger. That's all a fight response. That's an overactivation of your nervous system. If you're in a flight response, it might feel like you want to escape. It might feel like you are ignoring things that you know need your attention. Maybe there's an email that you need to respond to, or maybe there's a bill that needs to be paid, or maybe there's a conversation that you need to have and you just find yourself ignoring it and procrastinating. That's actually a flight response from your nervous system. Both the fight and flight are overactivation of your nervous system, meaning that your nervous system has interpreted a threat. And so it has become overactive as a way to juice you up to give you the energy to run from the proverbial bear, right? Now, let's talk about what it can be if you have an underactive nervous system, the hypo activation of freeze or fawn. So if you notice that you have like a feeling of stuckness, or you notice yourself doom scrolling, or you notice you're very self-critical, those are all indicative of a freeze response, a functional freeze. And if you notice yourself really prioritizing everyone else above yourself, like, oh, I have to make sure their needs are met and their needs are met, and the kids got to go to soccer, and my partner has to do this, and my friends need this, and your needs come absolutely last, that is very commonly a fawn response, meaning you're in an activated state, so much so that your nervous system has interpreted a threat to say, ooh, we need to play dead. We need to fawn for a little bit. We need to like go under. We need to hide. This affects people with visibility too. If you have a freeze or fawn response in your nervous system and you're trying to apply for jobs, or you're trying to start a business, or you're trying to come up with an activity to do for your business and you can't, this is all your nervous system at work. So inside this embodied clarity workshop, we are going to be talking about all of this. And I'm going to give you some tools, really practical tools that you can use immediately in the workshop and beyond to support your body. So The body processes truth so much faster than the mind. You know this already from work of people like Malcolm Gladwell. Have you ever read his book, The Tipping Point? Oh my gosh, he talks a lot about this. He also talked about this in several of his other books and talking about the body wisdom. He talked about it in Outliers. I love Malcolm Gladwell, by the way. And he talked about it in one more. What was the other one? I might have to come back and think of it, but he definitely talked about this body wisdom. There was another author called Gavin DeGraw, I believe. He wrote The Gift of Fear, and he was also talking about how the body always knows. So Gavin, is it McGraw? I think it is. I'll put a correction in the show notes if it's not. He was interviewed by Oprah years ago and talking about how when you get into an elevator and you know that something's off, that's your body saying, hey, something's not right here. And it's really your subconscious mind, your body tracking patterns that are signaling something doesn't quite add up in the way that it appears. And so your body's already doing stuff like this. There's tons of science behind it. Logic is a really easy way. It's a really easy way for us to disconnect with the body wisdom. So if you've ever tried to talk yourself out of knowing something that you know, that's your logic or your structured mind or the mental field really trying to hijack things. When I tap into my emotional body or my intuitive body, I will tell you that in 95% of the cases, my emotional body and my intuitive body, my heart and my gut, will agree with each other. They might language something slightly differently, but my structured mind, my mental field, almost always thinks something different than my intuitive body or my emotional body, my heart or my gut. The logic of your mind is trying to keep you safe. It's trying to, really pull on the intellect and intelligence that you have. And let's not make that bad. Intellect and intelligence are really important. They're really good things. But we want to make sure that we're not only using our logic. So I have a technique that I learned in my advanced theta healing trainings where I learned methods of how to test the body, where the body's truth shows itself versus where the body feels a misalignment or an untruth. And I'm not going to teach you this technique here, but I do teach it inside of all my programs. And I want you to know that this is a reliable, accessible way to check in with yourself. And if you've ever attended any of my live workshops or you've been a member of my programs, you know that I do teach you muscle testing. So if you're curious about that, that's one more reason for you to come to Embodied Clarity, because muscle testing never fails. It never fails. I have never regretted any decision that I have made using muscle testing, even if my logical mind was screaming, no, Brenda, don't do it. Like, for example, when I quit my job 7 years before retirement, my body said that was the right thing to do. My mind was screaming, but my body said, this is what you do. My body said, this is what you do when I got ready to sell my house that I just bought a year earlier in Portland. My mind was screaming, but my body said, this is what we do. My body said, put everything in storage. Let's go live full time traveling. My mind was screaming, what are you doing, Brenda? But my body was like, yes, this is a yes for us. And every single time I've trusted my body over my mind, I have found that there was something beautiful, something almost mystical and magical that was trying to come through that I would have completely missed had I listened to that logical mind. So your body already knows. You already know that your body already knows. And when you learn to trust your body, decision making becomes so much more aligned. Things feel easier, more free, more fun, a lot more joyful. And if this conversation resonated with you, I want to invite you to join me in a deeper space where we can actually practice some of these tools together. So I have a free workshop called Embodied Clarity. It's on September 9th. We'll be live from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time on Zoom. And there is a replay available through September 11th. So if you live in Europe, that's not going to be a great time for you, but you can sign up and you can catch the replay. And what you're going to gain when you come to this workshop is you're going to learn how to protect your energy, how to raise your vibration, how to choose joy over achievement, and how to recognize these nervous system patterns so that you can support yourself through them. Now, this workshop, Embodied Clarity, is complete all on its own. It's very high value, and I've designed it to be extremely worthwhile. It will give you practices that you can use every single day. It's also the doorway to my 12-week program, Your Yes Filled Life, if you choose to go deeper. The choice is yours. I'm going to put the link to both Your Yes Filled Life and Embodied Clarity in the show notes. And before we close today, I have a request. Could you please share this episode with 3 people that you care about? 3 people who might benefit from learning to trust their own embodiment. And then I have another request. Would you please leave the podcast a rating and review wherever you're listening? Because the truth is, we have we have metrics to fulfill. We have algorithms to please. We have podcasting platforms to show up on. And every time you leave a rating and review, even if you've already left one, it helps more intuitive leaders find this podcast and join us in this movement of embodied, easeful leadership. And the truth is, you only have to look around, maybe at one news headline in the United States, to realize we need more heart-led, embodied leadership in this country if we are to remain a free country. And so it's really important to me to continue to do this work and to lead embodied, heart-led leaders into their fullest, most aligned selves so that you can create the impact that you know you want to make and that the world really needs from you. So remember, your body always knows, and hopefully I'll see you in the workshop. Thank you so much for listening today. Bye for now. Until next time.